And I want to bring in John Cox, a retired pilot and MSNBC aviation analyst. As we're waiting for that press conference to start in just about 40 minutes, John, I wonder what the key questions are that you think realistically they may have answers to.
I think one of the things they're going to have is a better exact track of both aircrafts. I think they will have had opportunity to take a look at the radar tracks and see precisely where these two aircraft were. Also, the altitudes that each of the aircraft are reporting. Are they at the proper altitudes? The jet looks like, from what I've seen, it's a very typical approach to that runway. I've done that approach many times. I have not seen the same quality of data from the helicopter yet. NTSB probably has. So I think that NTSB is going to explain what they know, and they're also going to explain how they're going to go about investigating this. There are very rigid protocols that every investigative agency in the world follows, and NTSB certainly is one of those. They're one of the premier investigative agencies. So I think that there'll be some explanation of that. And then it will also probably be an ask for patience. These things take time, and it's much more important to get the right answers than to get a fast answer.
Well, let's start by talking about what we do know, because they did have that press conference this morning, and they revealed very quickly it was a clear night. The helicopter was in a standard flight pattern. The American Airlines, the American Eagle flight, was in a standard flight pattern. The patterns that they were in were not unusual. So when you talk about the very specific kinds of procedures, what comes next? What's at the top of the list of things that they'll be looking at?
Were they at the proper altitudes and at proper speeds? Also, the helicopter was told to ask if they saw the RJ, and they acknowledged that they did, and then they were told to pass behind it. All right. Now, if they were on night vision goggles, which they reportedly were, those devices are wonderful, but they do have limitations. One of the things NTSB will look at is if they were on NVGs, did those limitations come into this in any way? Did it potentially help them misidentify the aircraft so that they thought that it was a different aircraft than the one that they were instructed to pass behind? Those are some of the myriad of questions that NTSB investigators will ask and find answers to.
Yeah, you mentioned it's going to take some time, and we heard the frustration from President Trump today, suggesting that sometimes it takes years to get a final determination from the NTSB, and that's why he felt confident in coming out and telling folks what he thinks happened. What did you make of that? What do you make of President Trump saying, here's what I believe went on here?
There was no foundation for some of his statements. The whole DEI thing, every one of these pilots, the air traffic controllers, they had all met very high standards. And so to make such allegations, there's just no foundation of fact in it. And even greater significance, one of the things that aircraft accident investigators do, and it's a standard worldwide and has been for decades, is to stick to the facts that you know, to not speculate, and to let the evidence lead you where it leads you. So to make speculative statements at this early part of the investigation, it's counterproductive. It goes against the worldwide standard for accident investigation. So it's not helpful, and it lets the world know that a political statement can be made about something that everyone's focused on, the factual evidence, and so we need to stay with the factual evidence.
John Cox, thank you so much. We always are appreciative of your time when you come on the program. Thank you.